So remember to like and subscribe. Like this video if you want to continue seeing these sorts of streams, and subscribe to the channel to see even more. We will throw to Game 4 now.
While we get Game 4 started, I do want to give a put this awesome tournament together. Judy Cole, Josh Greenway, Will Anderson especially is running all of this stuff in the background. Morris has been very important in putting this together, and John Chu with NASPA helping organize this as well. And of course to Scopely for donating a large sum of money to charity to help increase the stakes of this event just a little bit.
Yeah, and so Jackson, that is, did draw a blank. He did not get the blank he needed last game, so maybe this is the key blank he needs to tie up this series. I wonder what he's trying here.
Annoying. He's trying auto gun. It is not valid for him. And we just talked about advantage of going first, and ironically, Jackson would much rather be going second here. He has 4 floating tiles that could give him a bingo, an E, an R, an H, or an L, could give him out argue or out laugh, and he has none of that. So instead, his rack is so bad that he needs to exchange. He throws back GOUU, which I believe is probably the thing you want to do out of that turn. Exchanging on the first turn is vastly underrated by a lot of players. There used to be this prevailing strategy called taking away the star, where you don't want to give someone a free double word score on the first turn. And I guess higher level thinking and the power of simulation has shown largely that doesn't really work. It's actually worse to give your opponent tiles to play through. Every letter you put out there, every unique letter, increases your opponent's chances of having an 8-letter bingo back by about 1 to 2%. Or if it's an E or an S, even up to 3%. So, Jackson just decides, I'm not putting anything back there. And a lot of the time, if you want to play OI or AI or something like that on the first turn, it's better to throw them back in the bag instead, score 0, rather than taking 4 points and giving your opponent more tiles to bingo through.
Yeah, it's definitely a good point. The other thing it does is it changes the tempo aspect of the game. When you exchange on the first turn, your score, right, the other person's essentially going first instead, which has a slight advantage, but not a huge advantage. If you avoid exchanging on the first turn, then have to exchange on something like turn 3, then you're down tempo by then, because you barely played anything on the first turn, just trying to avoid an exchange, only to delay it later. It's just delaying your problems a lot of the time, so it often doesn't work out. Meanwhile, Jackson drew 4 consonants, so I don't think he has a bingo here, because Austin's play of Via doesn't give him any 8s, at least none that I'm seeing. So
right. I don't think Jackson will bingo.
He might play something like Vim here through the I in Via. What would you be trying to do here, Matt?
He's got some fun choices. He could easily play Vim. That's a very good play. He could also try and do something a little bit cooler, like Tav through the A for 6, because Tav is an extremely defensive play that gives back very, very little. We would see Austin's expected score next turn to be incredibly low. But I think Vim is just too good to pass up, as much as you want to have a fun board with like a terrible, terrible situation. But I think Vim is just too good. APRT blank is an amazing leave, or you'll bingo most of the time. And Jackson amazingly finds a way to miss a bingo by picking up QR after Vim. So if I'm Jackson, GOUU on my first move, VMP after that, and now QPRR, like, man, how have I missed a bingo 3 turns in a row with blank? I'd be a little angry, but that's fine. That's Scrabble for you.
Meanwhile, Austin decides to keep the L and play V instead. It's an interesting idea, just because Via makes Vile, so the L could be a very valuable tile here, and I think that might be the only extension to Via. Via shouldn't be pluralizable.
No.
So, yeah, I think that's the only one. So the L could be a really valuable tile here. So it's an interesting play by Austin. Do you like this idea of playing V saving the L, or would you wanted Austin to play something like Oleine through?
I would never play Oleine here. I'm just not confident enough. Jackson's exchanged 4 and then just played VM. And I feel like he's probably sitting on decent letters, so I'd rather keep things a little bit tighter for Jackson if possible here. Of course, Jackson was sitting on good letters and completely blew it on his draw. But, I like the thinking by Austin a lot. The only thing I think about is playing VOE instead of VEE. VEE actually gives up the back hook of Veep. It also gives up an R, veer. And Jackson has both. Austin had neither of those. So I might have been more inclined to play a VOE in that situation. Keep double E instead of EILNO. It's kind of a moot point here.
Well, he was considering playing Sprat with a blank S there.
So he's just checking to see if it's a word, I'm sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Otherwise, I would have been shocked if he actually hit submit there. We saw yesterday one player accidentally fat finger a play and meant to play a different tile. It worked out for Cecilia in the end, but she admitted that to Will in the post-game interview. So I am always going to be a bit nervous, like trying those words on this, just because if I accidentally hit submit after Sprat, that would have just been so devastating. So it looks like Jackson's opting for wrapped here.
He's checking trapped. Let's hope he doesn't hit that fat finger. Oh, he took back that devastating blank if he had fat fingered there.
Yeah, so trapped and wrapped with a W in front should both be valid front hooks to wrapped without a W.
You could also play wrapped vertically, making REM. That's another consideration. Wrapped, of course, is a past tense already, so it doesn't. I think it's actually an adjective because wrapped is also good. So it doesn't take a back S and is quite defensive. REM that it sets up does take a front T, so that's a consideration as well. This is an interesting and tricky turn for Jackson, and I could see a number of things. I would actually exchange here.
I would too.
QR.
Yeah, I would too on this board. It just seems like, because Austin's last play seems more bingo-y than it actually was. Playing off EE there seems like you might be holding good letters, probably another E. So I think that exchanging makes a lot of sense. Just the game could be slow. And you don't want to open up too much for your opponent right now.
Right, I agree. I would certainly be exchanging. The longer I think exchange when could be scoring a decent amount, but you really want to be able to get a bingo down pretty soon if you're Jackson, especially if you feel like your opponent might be pretty close. I think changing QR is the thing to do here. And maybe Jackson's thinking about it. I think he's just finding all of these options and realizing, man, all of these are not good. I don't feel good about any of these. And I think the longer he thinks on this position, the more inclined he's going to be to do that exchange.
Yeah, and the time is definitely something to monitor here. Jackson's already used 5 minutes of his clock, and we've only played 7 tiles so far, excuse me. So it looks like he's going to swap the Q and the R, it looks like. And he picks up BA, so we will see if he gets a playable bingo next turn. But meanwhile, it looks like Austin's considering Louis and Vial potentially. And Matt was absolutely right. The past few turns of Jackson's really demonstrate to Austin he being Jackson is very likely to be holding bingo tiles. So it looks like Austin makes the play of Louis, which is dangerous for the triple. But if he thinks Jackson's holding like 1-pointers or something like that, it's not nearly as risky as if he thought Jackson is holding the F or the H or the W or something.
The scarier thing about Louis is it allows pluralizing it and E to bingo through. You might think partable is a word. It is not. Jackson's actually not going to have a bingo through that E. But if I'm Austin, Jackson has exchanged 4, played VM, and then exchanged 2. Like, Jackson has to be incredibly close to a bingo. And I would not be giving him that floating E. If I were Austin, I would have also exchanged on that turn, probably holding ELN. But this is what Austin elects to do. The scoring never stops if you are Austin Shin. Grab those points if you can. We'll see if Jackson puts down Partible. In a void tournament, there's no reason not to check. But, these top players are incredibly confident on stuff that looks like a word like that. But Jackson's got to be relieved to see Louis come. When you have no bingos in your rack, you get a great scoring spot. A part is really good for Jackson, or a play like Brat is also pretty solid. The B's not great for bingoing, so maybe Jackson will forego a part and pass up on some points to put Brat down. But Jackson has to feel pretty good about Louis, because both players, I think the other player is very close to a bingo. And ironically, neither one has had one the entire game. So it's all this, are you going to do it now? Are you going to do it now? No.
Well, Jack Norman in the chat points out, if Jackson doesn't indeed play a part or puts the T out in space, Austin will have orations. So that will finally allow for a bingo to go down. So that will be a key thing to monitor here. It's going to be hard to not play the T off, though. I'd be surprised if he does a play like that. Maybe para, but that doesn't seem nearly as good as playing something like a part.
Yeah, there's no reason
or
to play
Brat.
Para. Yeah, he's going to try Partible now, and it's going to turn up red for him. I think there's no way Jackson stringing the T out there, and Austin's going to get orations back. It's interesting. It's one of those cases where you make the right play given all the information you have, and it happens to be wrong. But Scrabble's a lot like poker in that sense. I'm supposed to fold this hand, and then, that card happened to come out on the river anyway. But you have to play the odds. You have to do what feels right and what's right most of the time. So even though a part is wrong here because it's going to give Austin oration back, it's the play you have to make, and you can't feel bad about it.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Jackson drew all consonants. So as Austin lays down orations, Jackson will not be able to bingo again. And it really starts to get a bit frustrating when you feel like you're so close to bingo so many turns in a row. I wonder what he's trying here. Horarions. So that must be an international dictionary word. So he just wanted to check to make sure that isn't valid in this dictionary because it does score more points. But now we'll go for orations. And I'm trying to remember if there are front hooks to orations. I don't think there are, but
there are not. But I bet we can see some fun extensions. I bet there's something. Chat, this is always your...
Yeah, so like restorations or something, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, stuff like that, long extensions, adorations, perforations. Thank you, Alex Seaholm, defending champion.
So close to that, too.
Oh my goodness, Jackson almost has it. Wow. I really feel for Jackson this game. Oh, it looks like he's something. Triforations. Oh, that would have been fun.
So close to like trepidations or something. But now, so we see Jackson seize that potential. It would be really cool if that does come down this game to make an 11-letter word.
Explorations, Kate. That's fantastic. Yeah, there have to be a lot of... I'm looking forward to sitting there all game. I really hope it does, because I think both of these players are very much good enough to find extensions like that. And in Void Challenge, try it, why not? I'm so frustrated for Jackson right now. He's had a blank for 5 turns, and he has not bingoed for 5 turns. And it's not that the board wasn't conducive to bingos. It's just he literally didn't draw one. And, holding the blank and some good stuff over and over, exchanging 4, then exchanging 2, holding APRT, come on, man. And now he has to exchange a 3rd time. Expert Scrabble players don't typically have a blank on their rack.
He drew the blank again.
Oh my goodness. I would be so angry right now. If you had, if I'm going to draw both blanks in a game, I want to bingo with one before I pick up the second one. But to sit there for 6 turns with one blank on your rack and then get the other one and get to bingo for 61 points. It's really frustrating. But Jackson has kind of lucked out that while he's had terrible luck, Austin really hasn't had a lot of luck either. And it's still very much a close game.
Yeah, so we will see if this does work out better for Jackson now that he will have the second blank and will almost definitely have a bingo next turn, although I didn't really look. Yeah, I mean, it looks like Austin's considering. Does he
Jackson
not?
might not bingo again.
I mean, it's
Oh my
tough.
goodness.
You have Vile as a hook, but since Oration doesn't take a front hook, if Austin goes where he's considering right now, that would block those new bingo lanes opened up with Orations. It'd be really tough to actually have a spot on the board. And I think Jackson had 5 constants that weren't the S, so I think you're right. I think he might not have a bingo, or maybe have one through like the PE or something.
I just checked. He has nothing through PE. He has nothing through AI. Jackson's not going to again unless Austin like randomly floats a tile out for no reason. You know, plays something like EMEU on top of Orations, and he's not going to do that. So this is literally ridiculous at this point. That Jackson's had a blank for 6 turns. He's had 2 blanks for a turn. And Austin's even if he plays Iceman, Austin's giving him like one of the easiest lines in the world to hit. Any bingo ending in S or D would come down for Jackson, and he just doesn't have it. This is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to burn both blinks, he can play Restorations now, but that does not seem like a good idea. I'm trying to think what else he could even think about here. It's really tough. Yeah, this is a crazy game so far. I mean, you feel so close, but yet so far in these sorts of positions. And so I wonder if he plays something like Peter this turn through the P, E, and
Peter
E.
pops out right away, just like that. I think that's what. What a frustrating game for Jackson. It hasn't been much better for Austin again. He's had garbage too. But if you look at like the that each player could have, where it's scoring 0 up to whatever the maximum possible score is, like both players just consistently, I want to say every turn aside from Orations has probably been below average, too significantly below average on what they were actually able to do. You know, the average score per turn for an expert player is 36, 37 points. And just each person every turn has been under that aside from Oration. So a very strange game, but sometimes expert players just deal with muck. Looks like Austin has drawn the X. So even then, like the X doesn't do well on this board. The only spot is XU and EX, and Jackson's going to knock that out if he plays Peter here. And he does. So Austin, I finally feel away. How sad.
Yeah, I mean, so Jackson has bingos for next turn. Do you just play that, or you can play Restorations here, keeping LD blank? I'm not sure if that's worth considering. That does score a bunch.
No,
actually, no, it's all 1 point. It's only 1 pointers. Yeah, never mind. So if it was one of the other ones, perhaps, but yeah, maybe does he keep? Oh no, 1 P has been played already. If I was going to say if no P's have been played, would you even consider keeping EX and hope for Explorations? Just because on this board.
That's not how you spell that word.
Yeah. Oh, exonerations. Nice.
Right.
Yeah, not quite the spelling, but it's This is such a weird board. And really, Austin can't even block the spot Jackson created.
So Austin has one option that's very good, Exuvial. And again, with fishing, playing small as much as he has, at a certain point, Austin has to just concede the bingo, probably. With that big Iceman hook down the L column open, any bingo ending in S or D is going to fit. Jackson's played Peter, so if he has an S, he might be setting it up. Viles is still there. Like, Jackson's had enough time to fish that I would give up at this point if I'm Austin and just go ahead and give up. Jackson's going to get it. If he draws it, that's fine. I can't effectively block anymore. But Exuvial looks really fun here.
Yeah, and he's playing a play that's only slightly worse. It gets rid of actually a better set of tiles in some ways. Or I'm not sure. It's close. But EAU or EAUX, excuse me. That would score 24, so only 1 less than Exuvial, and he decides to play that. It's a really hard play to see, Exuvial, that is. So it looks like Jackson now is going to be wasting no time. Is he going to play Calderas?
Yeah, it looks like Calderas is what he's putting down.
I don't Deflorations. Look, that was the top option in Quackle. A different
Deflorations. Wow, and so it wanted Jackson to forego, and score 36?
39. 39.
39, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the key thing is when you have both blanks, you're still so likely to bingo the next turn that the second blank is worth only like half the first blank, so it might be worth 13 points rather than 26 points. So that makes a lot of sense to me that was considered higher at first glance. It would have been cool to simulate that turn, though.
Oh my God, the chat just suggested Austin play EAU only, holding on to the X so that you can destroy that spot next turn. EAU scores 5 points, so maybe it's not worth it to do that, but also that's really fun, man. And like Jackson's in an annoying spot. I would say though that Jackson can bingo with Peters so often that it's probably not worth setting up the spot. But a really cool thing to think about and consider there.
Yeah, so Jackson drew ACDEITU as Austin took the lead there. So Austin's up 170 to 143, a 27-point lead. Jackson is thinking about just playing ut. It seems pretty good. I mean, this board is so tough. And the S is going to be such a key tile just because Peter takes an S, Vial takes an S, and if you look, there's very few other spots. I'm trying to think of what other key letters there are. I guess the O could be a very key letter just because Ka takes an O front hook. So if you can make a play, I'm trying to think of a high-scoring play that would fit there. Like Comb would fit there really nicely, right? COMBE. That would be a really high-scoring play. So the O could also be a key
what letter
tile.
did you just say was important?
The O?
The S. And do you see what Jackson just picked up?
Oh, got it. Discase.
2 of them. So Jackson's drawn Discase, which will come down with Vials and OE. If that doesn't get blocked, and really I don't see how that could reasonably get blocked at all. Austin with a really weird rack. Sometimes you feel good about drawing a rack like this, e.g. INORU, like very close to a bingo. Yeah, you play off OU somewhere and you're close. But where is your bingo gonna go? Like this board is huge for S's and maybe for D's, and that's about it. So I'm very curious to see how Austin plays this rack. This has to be a very challenging position for him.
Yes,
looks like Austin elects to.
I might do Oka and OE so OE making Oka and Eel just because that would be a nice non-S bingo lane, and it would just give him another option potentially. I feel like this limits his options a lot, and I don't know. What would you do here, Matt?
I'm not sure. This is very challenging.
Oh, Goer's a nice
wow,
idea.
Goer's very nice. I'm looking to play off several tiles at this point because I really want to increase my chances of getting one of those S's, and I'm looking to score. This is a bad, clunky board, and I want points. If I'm not getting an S, I at least want points. So Jackson's going to see Discase right away and put that down. Very obvious decision for him, and he's going to pull ahead, but he's also going to blow, and suddenly a lot more scoring opportunities come up. This will be a good one, guys.
Yeah, this game can explode now, essentially. Even though both blanks have been played on one move, this is now going to be a wide open board. We see the top 6 rows only have one letter through it now that Jackson has played, or no letters even through it for some of them. But Jackson opens up a lot of potential scoring spots. And Austin last time with Goer, he kept IN, so he has an ING lane. If he does want to get rid of the W and the Y this turn somewhere else, that lane will be really hard for Jackson to block long term, and it will be a nice backup spot for Austin a lot. And I actually didn't realize Woody was a word. Has that been recently added?
It's recently been added, yes. It's a noun. Yeah, Woodies. I don't know what.
Woodies.
I've never heard of that word, but they did. That's probably the play you've got to make. You just have so many unwieldy tiles. Pun very much intended, and I will not apologize for it. He's almost 2 L's away from unwieldy. But I think that's a great way to clear it all out all at once, and that's a great play. And Jackson's pulled a strange rack. Wow.
Yeah, this is just a strange game. All sorts of kookiness. So for Jackson here, he can't really make a play through the triple unless he does something like foul, which I don't think is right, although I haven't really figured out what does look right here. It's a tough position. I mean, the Z, there isn't really anywhere that you can use. Yeah, foul might be the top play according to the engine. That's crazy.
And there are no remaining U's already, so that Q is going to be a major Trojan horse for whoever has it. I think there's a very good Jackson's going to end up having to exchange that at some point. And in a close game like this, without very many scoring opportunities, there's a good chance that whoever ends up with the Q at the end of this game loses. We might see something lame happen like QAT next to Iceman, but without that opportunity, like, I think Q is a very big deal right now.
Agreed. And one thing that play did do was it set up Zoo with the O in foul and making OW. So that was actually a really clever play by Jackson, keeping ZO. Just to give himself a Z spot first, and then maybe he can deal with the Q after. But yeah, that's spot on by Matt. I mean, the Q really is terrible on this board. And so I wonder what Austin is trying now. Okay. So that is not a valid word in this NWL dictionary. This is going to be a tough turn for Austin. He really
the potential
wants
to just drop the B is so tempting right now. Drop the 30 points. On a closed board, like, love to just do something like that. All 4 S's and both blanks are out. So initially you might jump to think, oh, well, whoever pluralizes foul is in great shape here. But that won't happen this game. This board is closed. Peters is no longer a factor. Bingos down the L column next to Iceman are not very likely anymore. It basically have to be an ED bingo at this point, or a wording ending in N.
And yeah.
But just not a lot of friendly letters left, not a lot of opportunities. So I think we're a lot less scared than we should be. I think setting up Zoo for Jackson is a huge deal, and I just think, like, whoever can pound out the most, like, 25 or 30 point plays on a terrible board is going to win this game. No real reason to go for bingos unless you absolutely have to. And Austin, I think, is doing the right thing to do here. He just drops the B there. He's thinking about it, but I'd be shocked if he doesn't make that play. There it goes.
Oh, well, he was one letter away from elaborations. I just realized there.
Oh, I forgot about
but the L was the only L left was on Jackson's rack, so it couldn't have ever happened. But still. But man, that would have been cool.
We still have elaborations is not available anymore. Evaporations, I think the V's are both out. The X is gone, so no explorations. Do we have corporations? No. Oh, I don't think we have any, except maybe
perforations.
Perforations. Is perforation still there?
Austin could get it.
Austin he has an F. Is there a P?
There's one P left.
One P left. So maybe, but I think our opportunities are drying up, which is sad. That would have been fun.
Yeah. But on this board, I mean, actually, so now one letter to monitor is that F in foul. After a play like Zoo, it's very hard to block the F unless you literally make basically a very little point word through it. So if Austin starts thinking about what 8-letter words can I get soon that start with that F, that could be very key. And it looks like he might be trying Wazoo here as an option, which looks pretty good to me. Though it does give a potential big spot back to Jackson in this game. Yeah, it's just a bad tempo spot to be in for Austin here, playing a play like Wazoo. Because there's really there's like no spots on the board for Jackson to score. And if Jackson's holding an E, A, or I, he can just make a 4-letter word for a bunch of points. It just feels badly timed. I don't know.
I think Austin realizes he's in pretty bad shape here. What I think he still bingo to the G and goer, and maybe he just needs to throw some stuff open to distract. I think the F is actually going to get blocked a lot more often than you think. There are three or four N's I'm seeing, 3 to Austin. An A and D or E and D can come down very easily, making Zune. So unless he plays something like Wazoo, can go away and probably will go away. Actually, there's only one A and one E. So I take that back. Now Austin is looking at playing and himself. Really, Austin has to decide how bad a shape am I in Do I need to open up with Wazoo, or do I think I can slug this one out on a closed board? I have an F, I have a W, I have some scoring opportunities. I'm really not sure what Austin should be thinking about here.
I think this is the right idea, just because you don't want to make it so the bingo is your only option here, because the bingo opportunities are so scarce. So Wazoo, you're basically going for a bingo for broke now. And whereas and gives you a lot more possibilities, there are 3 N's still out, so you're not necessarily sacrificing that ing lane that you created off of goer. So that still could be an option. If you don't draw those tiles, then you could just try to score as much as you can with the W and the F. So I like this idea more. It forces Jackson to find the right thing rather than just give him an easy play. And you can see with Jackson's rack now, it becomes a lot harder, whereas before he would have had hide and EW as just a very natural play.
And I want to reemphasize the importance of that Q in this. It's going to be a tight slugfest, most likely. And Jackson really doesn't have almost anything to do with it. He has an I for QI, but it's going to be tough to even spot happen to get QI down. I'm wondering what Jackson is thinking about here with that H. Surely he's not just thinking about playing AH, but there's nothing else he can really do there.
I love this idea.
That's really nice. It knocks out the G, eliminating Austin's chances of bingos, and it gets a nearly unblockable Q setup. Like Austin would basically have to plunk 1 tile. So that's really nice for Jackson. I love that play. I love that idea. I don't think I'd be smart enough to think of it, but once again, Jackson Smiley is a fantastic Scrabble player, and you're seeing that on display right here.
Yeah, and if he does get QI'd on the next turn, all of a sudden he's not too far away from that Iceman spot. He has ED right now. He could be looking at a bingo potentially while having a lead and not having to worry about the Q anymore. So that is just a superb play. Like, I keep thinking Jackson can't outdo himself, and he just continues to do so. So I wonder if Austin's going to start looking at perforations as a possibility and try to get rid of the W, O, and O now and try to keep EF in some way.
The other thing he could think about is extending Zune. I know there are many things put in front of ZOO terms, Zoon, also like meta Zoon and all that. Stream loves Zune extensions right now. I think WOO is really cool. I really like this idea for Austin of continuing to try for perforations and just opening up some other stuff while you can. Jackson's going to have to decide too. Do I throw down the Q in the spot that I made, or do I deal with the spot that Austin just created? So Austin doing a great job keeping the board dynamic and giving Jackson things to think about.
Yeah, I guess I see the spot Austin created as basically as dangerous as the I. I guess actually you could do 7, sending an E would be the one, but that seems unlikely on this board.
Oh, you know what? Quackle is so good. Second I Q. So if he's very worried about the Q,
smart.
And if you look at the unseen pool to Jackson, there are 5 vowels left. So Hilted is a little bit scary because Austin can bingo down the B column afterwards, but his bingo would have to end in a vowel, an A or an E. And with only 5 vowels left in the bag, the odds that Austin has a bingo ending in a vowel are pretty low. So Jackson does something else. He just plays HE. I don't think I like that either. But time is starting to be a factor. I think these players are thinking, we might have an end game here. We're neck and neck on a closed board. The Q is out. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff going on right now, and time is very important.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Austin's going to think about blocking that I now, just because that seems like that could be his most important, most easy path to victory. Or he might just go for bingos.
It looks like Austin is really thinking about perforations. He set down strategy point is just create lines, and maybe I pull a 7 down the B column, and maybe I pull perforations, and those are really the only chances I have left. So I think that's what we're going to see Austin do. Just off my gut instinct, Austin's very smart, and I'm sure he's considering a lot of possibilities, but he's also ticking down on the clock, tick, tick, tick. Still 16 unseen. So we got 9 in the bag, and both players are under 4 minutes at this point.
So one option with the eye fish there, you can see Ria's, that could give frigate to the W or perforation. So he does a similar idea. He goes for fainter, which does play now off of Sig. It does make sign. So he can have a bingo here. The question is, will Jackson try to block the spot he just created, or will Jackson go for the Q?
I'm going to be totally honest. I did not notice the back end hook to Sig. Jackson does. Okay, so Jackson is better than me. That is absolutely true. That has been true for a while. But
this is a beautiful idea.
Oh, wow. Yeah, NTH, hold your eye for the Q.
Well, wait, Signa is a word, though. Does that give anything back?
No, it can't, because you would need 3 consecutive vowels and 4 vowels unseen to Jackson in the entire game. So I think int is a very good option.
Nobody is fainter if he does thin. Fainter would come down with Signa and if. Oh my god.
That's a bad mistake by Jackson. Int was fine. There was no reason. But like I said, time. He might have missed the hook. He might not be thinking, he's going to, bingo with an A right there. I don't know if Austin sees it.
Yeah, I don't know. He'll see it soon, though. He has to. Like, he's going to look there forever. Although he only has a minute
left. With the minute
it looks like his time isn't starting.
We need to start Austin's time. Okay. So we get word from the producers that we've pressing the time 1 minute, and then we're going to restart his clock. And it looks like he does see fainter now. So I don't think I agree with that play by Jackson. I think I would have played nth in that situation. And he's going to get burned about as hard as he could possibly get burned as a result of that. This is going to be a tight one. Can we get the unseen pool?
Yeah, so we can actually have perfect information here.
So Austin's going to draw bag, and Jackson's going to have
to... Is that right? Because Jackson, I think, has a B.
Right.
I'm not sure if this is... I'm not sure if that's quite right. Yeah, okay, so this is...
There it is.
So I forget what Jackson has. I guess we'll find out in a second.
Austin's going to draw 3 consonants, right? Does Jackson have the Y? If Jackson... He doesn't, so Austin's picking up G-Y.
And you can see Jackson is not happy right now. He realizes his mistake.
I wish we had sound from Jackson.
So I think bed or something might be the right idea here off of the E in fainter, just because it would still give cot and it would still have QI.
Right. If you're Jackson, you want Austin to go out as slowly as possible. Can you make Austin 3 turns? You need to block the E in fainter. And I think, bed is fantastic, because after that, there's nothing Austin can do to stop you from playing QAT the next turn. Jackson, he might not have the time. You can't play QAT now. You have to deal with yet or GEY. Can Jackson make Austin go out in 3 moves?
I think he's holding the B now, so maybe. And I think he can. I think it's just Austin will have enough scoring, so OK will be a keyword off of Oka. That's a nice hook for the Y.
Right. He has a lot of points.
So he has that. Actually, the G might be tougher. So at the top of the board, fag is an option. That will be one of his 2 spots for the G. I guess there's the A off of this case also. So those will be the 2 plays for the G. And Jackson, GI off of Jig. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Jackson can wait, though. Jackson doesn't need to play AT now. He can knock out spots for Austin and then play QAT finally, because it's entirely unblockable. A thing and GIT. Oh, this is game over. Yeah. If Austin plays thing and GIT, then he has 2 easy high scoring spots for his Y, and he's going to sneak this one out.
Oh yeah, I missed that spot.
Yes, that's coming down. And I can't believe Jackson been. It's one of those plays I was talking about earlier. I'm like 95 versus 97%, but I think that's a very bad mistake by Jackson. I'd love to hear about that one in his post-game interview. Very bad break for him, of course, but you don't want to create those opportunities for your opponent unless, you have to. And he didn't have to. Just play NTH there, and I think the game is his 99% of the time, 98, So we'll hear about that one later, I'm sure. But it looks like Austin is going to take a 3-1 lead in this series.
Yeah, what a turn of events. So,
Rias too. That's a nice little wide dump.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't see that. So Austin ekes that one out. What a great game, man. We see the final score is 404 to 385, but Jackson looked like he was in command for a while. It just one turn can make all the difference. And so that might have been the key swing Austin needed to lock up this match.